I need my mama. That's all I need. Only she knows who she slept with. Only she knows who she was with.
You are not his father.
Come here and sit down.
Come on, baby.
Just 6 months ago, this daddy's girl found that her whole 33 years of existence had been a total sham, as her father has come forward denying her out of the blue. And we all know when such a bomb drops, paternity feud is at hand.
A couple weeks before Christmas, just telling him how I felt about him not being in his grandchildren's lives and how he's not being the father that we need since we lost our mother at a young age. And that was his response, is the reason why I haven't been in your life is because he didn't answer any of my questions.
That is not true.
Obviously, this revelation was too much for the plaintiff to take, while Mr. Esau claims that Doubt Elephant has always been part of their lives, and now he couldn't take it anymore, which led to Miss Jazmine being treated as slack. Here's an insight into how her days went by after the revelation.
Tell the court, what has this 6 months been like?
I've been throwing up every day. I have anxiety. I have an autistic son that I'm trying to raise. Ever since, I can't eat. I'm losing weight. I'm just torn apart. He's just trying to kill me, I guess. I don't know.
Honey.
Of heartbreak.
Oh, honey.
Well, wasn't that sad to watch? Anyway, the defendant clarified that Miss Jazmine's deceased mother was already pregnant when they met. Doing the math in his mind, the daddy was sure Miss James was not his daughter.
Found out she was pregnant. Were you told?
She told me, yes. She told me she was pregnant, and I'm like, okay. You're 18, you're like, okay. Like, wow. You don't really know how to really react, but I was like, okay, wow, she's pregnant. The doctor told her how far along she was, and doing the math, it was, before me, So it wasn't like she was cheating on me.
Well, the daddy wasn't the only secret keeper, but Miss Jazmine's granny was also playing along. She told the court about how she helped her son determine if the mother of Miss Jazmine is pregnant by him or not. Yet the couple agreed to get married and have another child.
She and her mom came to my house with this piece of paper that had. So when I looked at this piece of paper and when I talked with him later, I asked him, when was he first intimate? He told me that it was right before Valentine's Day. And based on what he told me,
So the brother wasn't aware that his dad is not the biological father of Miss Jazmine. What's going on? Why keep it a secret if the father had to reveal it eventually? Well, now there was only one way to find the truth. The DNA results.
Mr. Esau, you are not the father. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What do you need?
I need my mama. I need my mama. That's all I need. Only she knows who she slept with. Only she knows who she was with.
Facing the dilemma of his child's paternity, Mr. Woody comes to paternity court as his ex-girlfriend, Miss Wilson, recently confessed he wasn't the only man she slept with during the conception window.
I have a 3-year-old daughter already, so when I found out I was having a son, I was excited because what man doesn't want to have a junior? I got plans made, I'm ready to go play baseball and basketball with them and, all the stuff a father's supposed to do with his son, so I'm just ready, so I'm ready to be a father to a boy now.
So you're already having the visions.
Mr. Woody already had a daughter who always wanted a junior, so when the new baby arrived, the guy was excited to be the father of a dream child. But soon, fate took him south, as Mama had stepped out of the relationship.
He was in an apartment complex, with his daughter in a stroller. And he said, "You're cute." And I was like, "Oh, you're cute too." So we walked to the store and we walked back to my friend's house. We had intercourse.
Was he the only man you were intimate with?
No, Your Honor.
How many other men were there?
Just one.
At least the baby mama was honest about meddling with other men during the time she was physically with Mr. Woody. But it has led them to a roller coaster of emotions. Look how even Mr. Woody found out about the pregnancy.
She sent me a message on Facebook, Your Honor.
Okay.
I guess she couldn't find me, so she sent me a message on Facebook.
No.
So I hope you know we're getting a DNA test when the baby's born, and I'm hitting you up with this child support. I'll see you in court. That's your first? You're gonna be a father?
Hello.
Being all responsible, Mr. Woody was at the hospital and even has his name on the birth certificate. But what led to the doubt? Judge Lake had to put the Sherlock hat on. Imagine the hurt one can go through one day thinking you're the father, and the next day you're not. Judge Lake developed the paternity maze in front of the courtroom and explained why the stakes are high for Mr. Woody.
The next day, you don't know if you're the father. Then you back in town thinking you're the father. Then the guy comes down the street and says you're not the father. Then you disappear, you think you're not the father. Now you're the father to be the father, and you sign the birth certificate. Now you leave the hospital, the doubt starts setting in again.
Yes.
If this wasn't enough, now the baby mama's family said that the child looks like the ex-boyfriend. Damn! But amidst all the confusion, paternity courts exist for a reason. With enough talking, it was time for the revelation of the child's fate, concealed in that oh-so-familiar envelope.
Mr. Woody, you are not his father. Jerome, will you please have her sit down?
Come up here and sit down.
According to Mr. Bosley's mother, he made a young and dumb mistake by signing the birth certificate of the defendant's 3-month-old child. Mr. Bosley's mother says there are 2 other possible fathers. Let's see how Judge Lake resolves this paternity dilemma.
I feel like my son made a terrible decision by signing a birth certificate. We need to know because I don't want my son to have to go through life wondering if this is his child or not.
So you feel like you gotta save your son from a mistake he made?
I do.
Well, now what's done is done, but Mommy wasn't the only one to blame. As Ms. Jackson testified to the court, the potential father just could not get enough. And after being only 2 weeks together, they were under one roof.
You meet and you almost immediately start a sexual relationship.
Correct, Your Honor. At first, I didn't believe it because I heard it once before.
Because you know that's what men will say just to get you to lay down with them.
Yes, Your Honor.
They make it sound like they want to have a family.
Yes, Your Honor.
But they saying it to everybody.
Above all, Ms. Jackson confessed to doing something awful outside her house, while Mr. Bosley watched from the window. The twist didn't just end there. Mr. Bosley's mother also claimed that the baby mama hid the pregnancy for about 4 months.
I did have sex with one other person that was there at the job, and that was the person that came to the house. The other person.
This is a mess. This is a mess.
Yeah.
How many people you gonna sleep with at the same job? When are you working?
That's why I'm here.
After knowing the bitter truth, Judge Lake identified a bigger problem in Miss Jackson's life that runs deep. She asked Miss Jackson why such behavior, and some more heartbreaking facts came to light.
And it hurts. It hurts. I don't want my son to grow up like that without his dad in the picture because I know how it feels and I have my daddy issues. Growing up is hard.
I understand what you're saying.
Baby Daddy also explained what further exacerbated his doubts. It was that he found Snapchat messages on Miss Jackson's cell phone and saw another dude's picture that resembled the child he was told is his.
I was on Snapchat, basically. I said, he looked just like my son. I'm like, what? Like,
He sent me that picture, and immediately, that's not your son. This made me think twice.
Was Miss Jackson interested in a sexual relationship with you?
yes, Your Honor, she was trying to have sex.
Now, there's only one thing left that will clarify the entire situation. Yep, you know what it is, those DNA results. And Judge Lake is always ready to solve paternity feuds. So, let's hear it.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Bosley.
Mr. Benning's case is back with the same old pickle. You know Mama was too promiscuous to be trusted, and her dealings have left the plaintiff in a sore place. He can't believe that his daughter might be someone else's child.
I always wanted the daughter, and I promised I was going to take care of her and treat her like my mother took care of me.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
I've always stuck by with that.
So having a daughter has been so important to you.
So important. I waited for this.
However, Mr. Benning explained that he has always been there for the child and loves his daughter to death no matter what. However, what ruined this perfect life was when he received the news of him not being the father from Miss Bodine in the labor room.
And I received a text telling me that the child that I'm waiting to come.
And so you get the text and you know who it's from.
Yes.
What do? You can't say anything to Miss Bodine while she's in labor, can you?
Kept going and I signed her birth certificate. I pushed through it. I wanted my daughter and I wasn't letting anybody take her from me.
But you were just too excited and you said, I'm not gonna let anybody steal my joy today.
Right.
Even after that relationship, Mr. Benning signed the birth certificate. However, the baby mama said that she had that dude tested, hence she was sure. But Mr. Benning said he wasn't the only man she cheated with. Sounds funny to me.
You still build the relationship, you still have a doubt?
Quite a few. First off, their DNA test doesn't mean anything considering the fact that she's cheated on me with more than one person. There could be other guys out there, that's just one.
That's the plot twist.
Anytime that something is wrong, as soon as we start to argue, you're not her father.
Mr. Benning further said that every time they get into an argument, he gets to hear, "You're not the father." This woman's just so mean. To make everything even worse, he claims he gets calls and texts from strangers claiming paternity of his children. That's traumatic.
You know, there's a text message on my phone saying, she's not yours. There's people calling me on my phone saying, I'm her dad. You know, it's constant. After a certain time, you can't just ignore it anymore. It just keeps happening. It's hard to ignore.
I know what I'm saying and I know what I prove. You have your daughter not. I'm here to prove today that you're the father.
Well, lady, if you're here today to prove Mr. Benning is the father, let's just get done with it. With the envelopes being set on the stage and the courtroom racing hot, Judge Lake erases the paternity doubts to mend this shattered couple.
You are not the father. I'm very sorry.
In this episode, Miss Quiller, a Georgia woman, thinks the father of her 4-year-old daughter was murdered in a home invasion. She brings the potential grandmother to court in hopes to end her quest for paternity.
We were really just friendly. It was one night that I came home from the club. Just that particular night, the alcohol in me was talking. It was a one-time thing. It happened one time and we socialized, but we weren't that close, not to have relations with one another, and that particular night we did.
Given that Miss Quiller has already tested 2 other men for being the biological father, her last pin is on Miss Briggs's son, and she believes her daughter deserves to know who her father is.
You say you got 2 other men tested.
Yes, ma'am.
And today you feel like it's your last hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
I feel like Nora deserves to know who her father is. I had the opportunity to meet my father when I was 17. We have each other's number and we still don't conversate with one another. I feel like Melissa deserves to know if she has a grandchild or not.
Miss Quiller told the court it was just a one-night stand. She met the potential father through his mother, Miss Briggs, and they were acquaintances at best, where Miss Quiller had just been released from the nest of her mother at the time.
This wasn't a relationship that continued on.
No, ma'am.
Ms. Briggs, do you have any recollection at all of Miss Quiller?
Yes, I do. She used to sit on my porch and talk to me all the time. We used to talk about just being in the neighborhood, being women, you know, nothing.
Being promiscuous, Miss Quiller was hesitant in explaining her bedtime stories, but the court soaked in a spiral of emotions after listening to what Miss Briggs had to say about the night she lost her son.
$3 in a pack of cigarettes what they killed my son for. When I showed up to the house where they killed my son his blood was still wet.
And then in a chance encounter, run into this young woman?
Yes, Your Honor.
She doesn't know your son has passed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Briggs knew Miss Quiller for about something now. Holding back her tears, she was already convinced that her son might be the baby's father. And with a storm of emotion in her heart, her voice cracked while giving her testimony.
I just knew that she was my granddaughter. I had been dreaming about her for days. Showing me this little girl in my dreams, and I was like, okay, what does this mean? And a few days later, here she is.
Really?
And I touched her. It's like you're sticking your finger in the socket and my whole body was electrified. If she's not mine, I still love her.
Miss Quiller also wanted nothing more other than the truth to be revealed, whereas Miss Briggs' daughter disagreed with what the potential grandmother thought, and they had their concern to confess.
Me and my brother looks exactly like twins, and everybody tells us that we look exactly like twins, and I feel like she looks nothing like us. But
so when you look at baby Nora, when you look at Nora, you don't feel like she looks anything like you?
No.
Or your brother?
No, I feel like she don't look nothing like us.
After Miss Quiller admitted that there are no other potential fathers, it was time for Judge Lake to cut to the chase and end the emotional roller coaster both parties had been feeling. Here's how those results went.
Miss Briggs, you are not her grandmother.
A tale of infidelity that will leave you on the edge of your seat. Miss Morgan has been caught not once, not twice, but thrice engaging in extramarital affairs. What's her motive? Miss Morgan is determined to prove that Mr. Mangum is the biological father of her 3-year-old daughter. But why does Mr. Mangum doubt his paternity?
I'm not gonna take care of another man's child, Your Honor.
This is your baby. She looks just like you. She looks just like our 1-year-old daughter. She's yours. Step up and do
She
what
been
you have to
unfaithful,
do.
Your Honor.
He's lying.
That baby look nothing like me.
She looks just like you. Are you blind?
Mr. Mangum walks into his family's house only to catch Miss Morgan cheating. The question arises, if he didn't witness it firsthand and she denies being with someone else, could his own brother be the source of doubt? Can Mr. Mangum truly trust his brother's words? This tangled web of relationships will keep you hooked.
So, did you show up with another guy, Miss Morgan?
No, Your Honor, I didn't. He's lying. Other family members,
Your
they
Honor.
have him thinking that he's not the father when we all know he's the father. He know he's the father. I haven't slept with anyone else. There's no possible way that he's not the father.
Did Mr. Mangum catch Miss Morgan in the act himself? Or did another family member play a part in fueling his suspicions? Prepare to be shocked as the truth unfolds. They were together stepping out of a car and sharing an intimate hug. But why didn't Mr. Mangum confront her right then and there?
Third time I caught her on Highway 18, I started following them, Your Honor.
Oh, you did?
Yes. Then I called my brother. He told me to stop following
You was
them.
following
so I
the
turned
wrong
off.
people because that wasn't me.
So you were following Miss Morgan and the guy in the car?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the guy was driving?
Yes.
Who was
Again, why
driving
didn't
your
you
car? You
confront
forgot
me?
to put your head in there.
Now, let's turn our attention to the incriminating messages that date back 9 months, the window of conception. Could this be the reason why Mr. Mangum doubts the paternity of the child? If so, his skepticism seems justified. Get ready for an emotional roller coaster as we explore the delicate balance between love and doubt.
I have never cheated on him.
Yes, you have.
I caught him on different occasions with different women throughout my pregnancy, and it was so depressing. Even after I saw all that, I was still faithful to him, and he just moved out the house and just
Okay,
switched
Your Honor.
up and have not been taking care of our daughter.
Were you having conversations with other men to get back at him?
No, Your Honor.
Imagine the struggle of caring for a baby while maintaining an active sex life. Ms. Morgan insists it's impossible to juggle both responsibilities. She vehemently denies being the person Mr. Mangum's brother saw. Truth and lies intertwine, and only a paternity test can reveal who is telling the truth. Brace yourself for the ultimate truth showdown.
In the case of Morgan versus Mangum, when it comes to 25-day-old Joy Mangum, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Mangum, you are the father.
Embark on an electrifying courtroom saga today. Will this case expose a cheater or mend a family plagued by misunderstandings? Miss Rainey fights valiantly to prove her children's paternity and secure the financial support she deserves. What caused Mr. Matthew to retreat? Brace yourself for shocking revelations. Secrets surface, casting doubts on the truth. Will justice prevail?
Okay, so Ms. Rainey, why did you name your son after another man?
He told me to.
Yeah,
The situation is, when I found out I was pregnant, I told him and the other person that
That you
it was
was living
between both of them.
No.
Because you weren't sleeping with anybody else during the time of
I
conception.
slept with him and Rondell.
Uncover Miss Rainey's hidden truth. Who was she with and why? Yet, these events transpired before conception. So why does Mr. Matthew doubt his role as a father? Prepare for an enthralling exploration of past mysteries, where time itself holds the key to unraveling this riveting tale. Hold your breath as the truth unfolds.
She tried to say like before then, and this was still while you was gone, and I was messing with this other person. Yeah, I might have did, but we used the condom, and all type of stuff like that. Like she really.
So I did have sex with him, and I told you that it was way before your time.
So you admit, Ms. Rainey, that there was another guy, but you're saying not in the time
only
frame.
Between them two.
Can a man living off his wife support his children? Miss Rainey's scathing words sting as she labels Mr. Matthew a loser. Irresponsible as a father and husband, he stands accused. Feel the tension in the courtroom rise as this clash of wills intensifies, unveiling the depths of their strife.
He's nothing. He's nowhere.
Now,
that's because he's nowhere. He's a loser.
well, I gotta drop a little knowledge on you, Mr. Matthews. If these kids are yours today, you gonna be paying for it.
He already gonna be paying for one because he signed a birth certificate, so I ain't worried about it.
Confident and self-reliant, Miss Rainey challenges conventional notions. Yet she endured 8 tumultuous years with Mr. Matthew, who treated her poorly. Is her strength genuine or a facade? Explore the enigmatic complexities of her character as she navigates the stormy seas of love and resilience. The truth awaits.
Ms. Rainey, I need to understand from you. You stand here, you're very strong, you're opinionated, I can do this, I got my own life, I'm equal, I can sleep with who I want, I can do who I want, and yet your actions in staying with a man that treats you this way for over 8 years, that don't add up to me. That's not what a strong woman does.
Witness the heartbreaking absence of a father's love. Mr. Matthew, living nearby, makes no effort to connect with his children. What plagues him? Miss Rainey's anguish permeates the courtroom, her plea for change echoing through every corner. Will this cycle of neglect be broken, ushering in a new dawn of parental responsibility? Brace for the emotional climax.
It hurt a lot when you love somebody and then they don't be there for you and all they do is just down you. You ain't have to deal with me all them years, and that's how I feel. I loved him and never got love back. All I ever got was mistreated, talked about to his other females, baby mamas, or whatever he want to call them. Period. No, he ain't nothing.
Mr. Matthew claims to teach his children not to follow his path, but mere words won't suffice. A father must step up financially. Miss Rainey's receipts expose the truth. Over 2 years, $4,663.50 spent on essential items. The judge scrutinizes each expense, leaving no room for doubt. Prepare for the moment of truth.
In the case of Rainey versus Matthews, when it comes to Renaya Matthews, Mr. Matthews, you are indeed her father.
Valentine's Day, a celebration of love and togetherness. But this year, it took an unexpected turn. Miss Hilburn finds herself caught in a love triangle, resulting in a 10-month-old daughter she believes belongs to Mr. Barnes. Will Miss Hilburn's choices jeopardize the well-being of her children? The truth awaits, unveiling a web of emotions and a future filled with uncertainty.
Mr. Barnes, you claim that you discovered Miss Hilburn was cheating on you on Valentine's Day. Your relationship ended, but soon after giving Miss Hilburn another chance, you discovered she was still sleeping with the other man.
Yes, Your Honor.
And while you're hoping you are Saray's father, you do have doubt.
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
In the heart of the paternity court, Miss Hilburn fearlessly reveals her infidelity on camera. Cunningly, she convinces her other lover she's exclusive, living with both him and her unsuspecting husband. Remarkably, all three reside together. The intensity rises as the audience is left wondering how this tangled affair will unfold.
We had lived in a house together, and that's where this other gentleman moved in. We were all living there.
Let's slow down at that part. You said all of you were living together?
Yes, ma'am.
You're living with your girlfriend and the man she cheated on you with?
No, we were not together at the time.
Mr. Barnes' certainty crumbles 2 months after Saray's birth. A fiery argument unveils a shocking revelation. He might not be the father. Doubts consume him, casting a shadow of uncertainty over their once promising future. Will he find the strength to face the truth? Can he salvage the fractured pieces of his relationship with Saray?
Not at that moment. I didn't find out about the other guy until 2 months after Saray was born. We had gotten into an argument and she had let slip that I may not be the father. So from then on, there has been some doubt that I might not be, but I want to know.
I did tell him before the baby was born that there was a chance that she could not be his.
Miss Hilburn believes Mr. Barnes is Saray's father, hoping he'll be a responsible parent. But why involve another man if she lacks faith in his capabilities? Her choices raise eyebrows, and the consequences may be dire for her child. The audience remains captivated, anticipating the resolution of this tangled affair.
She deserves somebody there as a father.
And I'm scared that if the baby is not his, that Mr. Barnes will walk away.
So you are truly fearful that your actions have destroyed your child's opportunity to have two parents and a man that cares for her?
Yes.
As tensions escalate, the moment of truth approaches. However, Miss Hilburn's entanglement with her other lover adds another layer of uncertainty. The courtroom brims with anticipation. Will the paternity test bring clarity, or will it plunge them further into chaos? The judge wisely advises a test for the unborn child as well, setting the stage for even more shocking revelations.
So this is just a bona fide mess. Really? Because basically the other guy is just having sex with you and using you. You know what? This is what we're gonna do today. We are going to get the DNA test results for Saray today, but I am going to send you directly, and we're gonna do some prenatal testing.
Finally, the long-awaited results for Saray are unveiled. Mr. Barnes' heart shatters as he learns he's not the biological father. The emotional bond he formed with the child now hangs in the balance. Ms. Hilburn, the architect of this intricate mess, is also affected. But amidst the chaos, a burning question lingers. Who is the unborn child related to?
Mr. Barnes, you are not the father.
Still not going to change anything for the fact of Saray. So, just going to keep on going how we have been.
Ms. Hilburn, that the result you expected?
I kind of knew it was going to be like that.
This case began with an explosive start. Mr. Fernandez had reached his breaking point. If his ex-fiancée was caught cheating on camera in a paternity court, and if it turned out their little girl wasn't his, it'd be the final nail in the coffin. Consumed by anger, he even pawned the engagement ring, abruptly canceling the wedding.
Mr. Fernandez, why did you pawn the ring?
I was frustrated, I was angry. I took the ring back and I left. The ring actually cost about $700. I was only given about $350 for it, Your Honor.
Do you have a receipt for the ring?
I actually don't have a receipt for the ring.
Mr. Fernandez resorted to pressing her relentlessly until she confessed to her infidelity. However, she stubbornly denied any wrongdoing. His discovery of a photo depicting her in an intimate embrace with another man only deepened the mystery. Who was he, and what was the significance of that hug? Their relationship had always been shrouded in uncertainty.
Yeah. Now, how did you find out that she slept with somebody else?
I found out it took weeks of me pressing it out of her. When I came home, it was just me and her there one day. I see her phone. I ain't gonna lie, Your Honor, I'm a big snooper. So I grabbed the phone. I paid for the phone, but look, I'm a big snooper. I grabbed the phone, I look through it, I see her hugged up with a guy, some Gucci man looking guy. I don't think he's black, just, hey, who is this?
Things took an even more bewildering turn. Miss Butler admitted to being intimate with both men during the conception window, but dismissed the possibility of Mr. Fernandez being the father due to condom usage. A week of alternating between two lovers? The confusion reached staggering heights.
So now, you submitted this calendar to prove that you were intimate with the plaintiff on the 1st, pretty much that whole week.
That whole
week,
week, yes.
The 6th, the 7th, and the 8th,
yes.
Which is during the window of conception.
Yes, Your Honor.
When were you intimate with the other guy when you all fell out?
Like January 5th.
Well, that's the same week.
Same week.
What made matters truly perplexing was Mr. Fernandez's unwavering commitment to the baby. He stood by Miss Butler throughout every appointment, yet would constantly bring up the other man she had cheated on him with during their arguments. But was it fair? For the sake of their child, shouldn't he let go of the past?
So when this happened and you're there for the birth and you're participating, you don't have doubts then?
I still had doubts,
He still has, we argue every day.
I still had
every
doubts,
day it was.
I still had doubts, but she was just beautiful to me. Still is, you know? And I love her. I do love her.
Because she's your
you know?
baby. She looks just like you. That's common sense.
Finally, the long-awaited results arrived. But would they heal the wounds between them? Mr. Fernandez's attitude suggested he had already mentally checked out, wanting nothing to do with Miss Butler. Now that he knew the baby was his, could we hope for a change of heart? Would he choose to stay?
When it comes to 2-year-old Divine Butler, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Fernandez, you are her father.
Told you. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about.
Wait a minute. Did he just propose to Miss Butler? Astonishing! It seemed like everything miraculously fell into place as he decided to give their relationship another chance. Let us hope they embark on a fresh start and work towards building a stronger bond for their daughter. He also withdrew his $300 lawsuit. Truly a joyous and a heartwarming ending.
Okay, so is it safe to say you would like to withdraw your suit?
Yes, I do.
And I'm happy for you too.
Thank you.
You know, relationships are difficult and marriages are even harder.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right? When you have an issue, work it out together.
Y'all see my ring?
Step into the gripping tale of Miss Phillips, where a tattoo that once held meaning has transformed into a source of disgust. What led her to despise this man so intensely? Brace yourself as we delve into Miss Phillips' life and uncover the shocking truth behind her resentment towards Mr. Polk. Miss Phillips aims to establish Mr. Polk's paternity of their 1-month-old daughter.
Miss Phillips, you've opened your case today to prove to Mr. Polk that he is the father of your 1-month-old daughter, Promise. You say after Mr. Polk's initial acceptance of the pregnancy, he has been MIA since your daughter's birth. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Could there be a deeper reason behind a man's rejection of his flesh and blood? Or is he simply lacking responsibility? The judge probes, eager to get straight to the heart of the matter. Did they embark on a romantic journey? Or was it all about immediate gratification? The way Mr. Polk shamelessly admits to his desire for nothing more than physical pleasure is truly disheartening.
The first time you got together, when was that?
It was back in June in 2017.
That wasn't the first time. The first time we actually met, it was like July 4th.
Did you have sex the first time you all got together, or did you actually go on dates?
We did. We actually did. I'm talking about straight to it. Straight to it.
Cause that's all I wanted at the time. Cause that's all I wanted at the time.
Straight to it.
Unbelievable! Upon discovering her pregnancy, Miss Phillips contacted Mr. Polk, only to have him ignore her calls and instead contact the landlord. And to top it off, he dares to claim that Miss Phillips disrespected him. Even the judge is taken aback by such callousness. His decision to block her number, leaving her feeling discarded, is nothing short of outrageous.
Whenever I found out I was pregnant, it was like 2 to 3 days after I got the tattoo. And when I got the tattoo, I guess he was a little mad at me because I called his landlord because he didn't answer the phone when I took the pregnancy test. I called the landlord and I said, "What BJ at? Because I'm pregnant, period." And he
Disrespectful. Very. No respect.
No respect. You the one sleeping with Miss Phillips while you got a whole girlfriend.
Tell him again, Erner.
The judge snaps Miss Phillips out of her victimizing reverie, reminding her that while Mr. Polk may be toxic and undeserving of her affection, she repeatedly allowed him back into her life. Despite the countless instances of disrespect, he was always just a call away. It's time for her to face her own choices and take responsibility.
He's a very toxic person.
What, girl, stop. Just stop. Because when you downgrade him, you downgrade yourself because you the one laying on your back with your legs open for him every time he calls. Just like he said earlier, what'd he say about the sex the first time it happened like this? You just a snap away.
At long last, the truth emerges. Is Mr. Polk the father of this beautiful little girl? The judge advises Miss Phillips to be wary of Mr. Polk's manipulations and to no longer lend him an ear. Can a man who displays such behavior truly be a suitable father, even if he is biologically connected to Promise? Let us ponder this unsettling question.
Mr. Polk, you are the father. That's your beautiful little girl.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm sorry about the doubt.
For 35 long years, Mr. Williams had believed that Miss Mayberry was his daughter. But the down part is that her mother does not remember that she ever slept with the plaintiff. Thus, the paternity doubt. So let's solve this decades-old mystery once and for all.
I just felt it in my heart that she was mine.
So you really did. You had that feeling like this is my daughter.
Yes.
And you've held on to that feeling. And so for 35 years, you've been saying this is my daughter. But Ms. Wynn, you say he's not her biological father.
He's not her father, Your Honor.
You heard the mommy. There ain't no doubt about who the real daddy is. But Stanley was adamant in his claims that he knew that Quenisha was his. And when the trail hints such a road, going back to how it all gets started is inevitable.
Well, we was just close friends at one while. They used to live next door to me, and she used to come by where I used to work at probably 30, 40 times a day, just walking in front of the door to get my attention. And so, we end up, we did mess around, but it was never a relationship.
So how long did this sexual relationship last?
I don't remember, like 4 or 5 months, something like that.
So they were dealing with each other in the past, which makes the plaintiff's claims plausible, doesn't it? And that is where the DNA test hits in. Well, after this, Mommy came forward asking that if Mr. Williams was so sure, why did he wait so long?
Shoe shine probably about 10 times a day.
That's what he said.
50 times a day.
Maybe more.
And so
That still don't prove he's the father.
No, it doesn't. Look, she about to take my job, Jerome.
Sorry.
He said that don't prove nothing. So wait a minute. I mean, even though you grow up with somebody and you know them, that doesn't mean it's like, come on over and get my daughter and just take her.
It seems like this woman has no motherly bone in her body. I mean, who would let a guy take her child like this? On top of this, the mother disagrees when Mr. Williams claims he took Quenisha home lots of times as a baby. His truth or her truth? Well, we're gonna get to the bottom of this slippery slope.
When would you take Quenisha, Mr. Williams?
Well, the first time I took her home to my mom, and I asked my mom, I said, do she look like me? And my mom said, yeah, that's your baby, Stan.
How old was she?
Quenisha had to be months old.
Going on about who Quenisha thinks her father is. Well, obviously the man on her birth certificate. Unfortunately, she had any connection with him. And now, when another man was ready to step up as the father, this made the young woman side with the plaintiff.
I don't feel like we have a connection. I definitely don't look like him. I really don't feel like that's my father.
You had no connection with him?
Nope.
And you've only seen him like 2 times?
Yep, and that was when I was like 18, so. Yeah, I've been mom and dad to her, and I'm still mom and dad.
Things finally take a serious turn when the mother-daughter duo gets emotional, and the daughter shares her feelings with her mama. Time for the results to be rolled out, putting an end to the paternity doubt.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Williams, you are not the father. I'm very sorry. I'm sorry I could not give you the closure you needed. Any other person you may have been dating at that time?
It's the man that signed her birth certificate.
How can you double a mother's grief who has already lost both of her sons? Not just one, but 2. Mrs. Watts is testing her patience in this difficult situation when she found that her deceased son could have a baby as well. This mother needs answers today.
Mrs. Watts, you are here on behalf of your deceased son, Alex, who was tragically murdered just a few months ago. I'm very sorry for your loss. You stand here on his behalf because you doubt he fathered the defendant's 20-month-old son, Caden, and you have asked for a DNA test to determine the truth. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The plaintiff painfully shared her loss and stated that her 2 sons went to a friend's house where, due to an altercation, both of them got murdered there. It was devastating to see a mother recalling her son's death. Then, upon being asked, Miss Sherrill talked about her relationship with the alleged father.
Every time you seen Alex, you seen me. We were always together.
How long were you in the relationship?
3 years on and off.
And so Caden is 19 months old?
Yes.
And so he did get to know his father, the man you say is his biological father, before he passed away.
Yes.
Talking about a father-son relationship, the defendant shared that she was sure he was the father because Mrs. Watts' son Alex had a deep bond with her baby, and he never questioned for a test. But Grandma cut her off and shared her doubts.
My son had went away for some time, and before he went away, he told me that Alexis was pregnant. And I guess this was during the time that they were on their breakup. He was involved with someone else. And then when she had Caden, I said, "Miss Caden, Alex is," and she said that she didn't know she needed a DNA test.
Then the defendant explained that during their break, she had a one-night stand and confided in Alex about this. but her text to Mrs. Watts was due to confusion because the pregnancy test took some time. But after the results, she was sure of Alex's paternity. Next, she continued talking about her pregnancy.
Alex did want to keep the whole pregnancy a secret. He did not want nobody to know about the pregnancy.
Why is that?
Alex was a secretive person. He did not like people in his business. And at the same time, I didn't tell my family I was pregnant either. So we both decided to keep this a secret.
He was a private person. He was private about other people being in his business. I know.
They easily called him a secretive person. But how can you be like this when there's a baby on the way? The judge asked them about the birth, and Miss Sherrill revealed that she kept it a secret, and Alex wasn't there as well. Next, the judge asked the defendant about her son's last name, and she explained her reasons.
I gave him a friend of mine's last name only because, to me, I have a female's last name. I didn't want to give him a female's last name. When the time came for me and Alex to get a blood test, I told him we can go down to the court, we can pay, and we can get his last name changed, no problem.
Why not give him Alex's last name?
I may have had a little doubt in my mind.
They took secrecy to a new level. Who keeps a baby's birth a secret? Then, the judge brought in the plaintiff's witness, and he also expressed his doubts regarding the baby, saying that Alex never confronted them about his son. Upon this, the defendant shared her opinion on Alex's secrecy.
You said that his position was blood test or no blood test.
Alex didn't want his family or my family to know nothing about this.
But why is the point?
Alex is a secretive person.
But he wasn't secretive about the first child.
I couldn't really tell you his thoughts as to why. I was a single mother of 2 other daughters at the time. I stayed with my mama.
This case is so calmly confusing, and no one knows exactly why things have been like this until now. Then, the judge asked the defendant whether the baby had any relations with the plaintiff, but she replied that due to a lack of personal transport, they don't have a bond with her son. Next, Mrs. Watts shared her reasons for detachment from the baby.
You know, for the past 6 months, we have been going through so much.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to open that door and get attached to the baby and then find out that he may not be his, and then it'd be like I'm losing my son all over again.
Yeah.
I think he's a beautiful little boy, and I just want to be sure. I don't know.
Secrets and unanswered questions have left a baby's life at stake. It was not a hopeless case, but both parties' actions and expressions were so ambiguous that we couldn't see any hope. And the judge was ready to read the results.
The percentage of relatedness between Ms. Lita Watts and Caden is 0.006%. You are not related. Alexis, I have to ask you, do you know where Caden's biological father is?
No.
After appearing on couples court, Mr. Jones and Mrs. Jones have landed in paternity court because the darkish revelation of infidelity had ruined Mr. Jones's 48-year-old dream of becoming a father. Well, now that very desire has turned into a nightmare. Let's see how this daddy is holding up.
Your Honor, my household been upside down. I'm sleeping on the couch. Your Honor, I never said nothing, but I always had some type of doubt. Ever since I found out she cheated, I always had doubt. I never
And you haven't said anything.
I never said nothing, but I look at her, and I'm trying to see me. I'm trying to see me in her.
And so you stepped up.
So you don't see you in her?
Sometimes.
Trying to see himself. This comment made the mama bent out of shape because this revelation was new to her. The whole doubt wasn't even that old, and the defendant confessed that it had to do with the way she'd been acting. I meant cheating and all.
I argue with him, and I would say petty stuff.
I mean, she cheated on me. I never thought, that I have a baby, but...
So you stepped up as a dad to do the right thing.
I did the right thing,
And
yes.
for the past 4 years, you've been there for Tamar. But the truth is, as you look at this beautiful baby, every day you're studying her features going, I don't see me.
Further, the plaintiff revealed that one of his acquaintances told him about his spouse's swindling. But to tackle this, the woman came up with the lame excuse of believing that her husband was cheating on her.
Well, this started all because I thought he was cheating on me. I thought, in my head, I believed that he had someone and that on the side. So I said, why put my all into it?
So how often did you sleep with this other man?
That's what I'm saying. It was, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. It was about 2 times.
Next, the alleged daddy brought up the sexual timeline. He asserted that he had a long sexual timeline, but he had gotten no women impregnated, and that's why he believed that the baby was not his.
And you've had 33 years of an active sex life, and no one has ever gotten pregnant until 2014,
Yes, Sean.
which is your wife.
Yes.
That's a long time. And you've had multiple women.
I had multiple women.
You're having sex unprotected.
Unprotected.
Nevertheless, the mommy testified that she's been on medications which made her 1,000% certain that Mr. Jones was the biological father of her baby girl. But the man opposed her by stating that he was sterile.
I'm actually on fertility treatments and I'm trying so I can make sure I can say 100,000% sure that he is the father.
And you've been trying now for how long? For about 4 years, because you started trying when?
Since 4 years, 4 years.
Since after Tamari was born.
Right.
Yeah.
For better understanding and clearing up the shady cloud, Judge Lake summoned Dr. Jamila to the court. She told the court that Mr. Jones could not have kids as he was infertile.
In Mr. Jones's case, we did a semen analysis, and basically, on a normal semen analysis, you expect to see about 20 million sperm per milliliter, and you expect to see normal shape and sperm that can move. He had well under 1 million sperm, and in fact, when they looked under the microscope, there were only 3 motile sperm that were seen.
Oh my God.
Despite the biological facts, baby mama stood by her claims. She gave nasty statements about the sexual intercourse with Mr. Jones that even Judge Lake had to hop into the situation, like this.
His sperm did something to me in one of the nights before, because I only knew that I was pregnant around 2 months. But I felt that night, I mean, the sex was amazing, way more better than any other night. I felt his sperm go inside me and then like spread out like a spider web.
It was obvious that baby mama's one misunderstanding fermented her whole marriage, and they ended up in a paternity dispute. So the last call to give them the closure they needed was to disclose the DNA results.
Mr. Jones, you are the father. Yes.
Both thought that it was in the past, but it looks like the past keeps chasing them. And now, Mrs. White only wants to prove that Mr. White really is the father of her daughter, Savannah.
Savannah has the right to know, and I have the right to know.
And you love this little girl.
Yes, I love her to death.
3 years.
3 years.
And so she looks to you, you're her father, you're her daddy.
Yep, just the other day she was at my mother's and she woke up and she asked, "Where's Daddy?"
And I can see this is just tearing you apart.
It is.
It's just eating away at you. I can see this.
Mr. White loves Savannah, but Mrs. White admits that she's cheated on him. Her dishonesty is what makes him suspect Savannah is not his. Even though he loves the girl to death, he feels like he owes it to her to know the truth about who her father really is.
A week after we got married until February of this year, I've been catching her cheating constantly. Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. White, have you been cheating?
Yes, but I have like abandonment issues because I was adopted. He's not showing me the love and affection that I need. I just want him to like show me love and affection and be there for me.
Okay, Mrs. White's reasons for cheating are just stupid. Cheating's inexcusable, but for her to bring up her abandonment issues and try to justify it, that's just lunacy at its finest. But the worst part is how she believes that Savannah is his daughter even after all the cheating.
When Savannah was 6 months old, that there was a 50-50 chance that Savannah wasn't mine.
And how did you get to a place where you decided you're gonna tell him?
We got into an argument. We ended up splitting up and I was over at my mom's house. He said the only way I could come back into the house is if I was to admit everything and just be honest.
And he let you back home after that?
Yes, Your Honor.
The defendant grew up in a very troubled household where the parents were constantly fighting. So he wanted to raise a family that was free from all the mess and chaos. He worked hard every week so he could provide for his family, and this is how Mrs. White paid him back.
Do you have any other reason to believe that your wife cheated other times?
I have text messages proof right here of the most recent is Valentine's Day. She went to another man's house while I'm sitting at the house with the kids.
Well, that's because you didn't even get me anything and you were just yelling at me.
The worst part is that baby daddy caught evidence of all the cheating. He uncovered texts of his wife asking her ex-boyfriend to come over while she was naked in bed. That's not what a mother and married woman should do. No wonder Mr. White looked so heartbroken.
Did you tell your husband about this guy too?
He saw the text messages.
You can bring me some cigs, LOL, Al's a, LOL, you are a nut. I'll give you a call when I get a chance here in a little bit. Why are you entertaining all these men on text?
Because he doesn't show me anything.
The husband truly is a family man. He works hard to provide for his kids, while Mrs. White keeps sneaking behind his back. They've got 3 kids, and there's another one on the way. And Mr. White just wants them to resolve their issues and stay together. But Mrs. White keeps stirring trouble after trouble.
We didn't even do anything on Valentine's Day. We just sat there and talked. That's all we did on Valentine's Day.
He sends you a picture of his penis and you go over and talk. Then you send a picture of your body part, but y'all just talking. Come on now, Miss White, come on. You're lying. And we know this.
Even Judge Lake asks why Mrs. White keeps doing this. She talks about saving her marriage with Mr. White, yet at the same time, she's going around town having affairs. It's clear Mr. White has a lot of emotional attachment to his kids, and it's all taken a toll on him. Time to reveal the results.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. White, you are her father. How do you feel, Ms. White?
Relieved, because he's a great dad and I want him to be all of my children's father.
Here's a case of Miss Phillips and Mr. Polk, where the paternity issue is over their baby, Promise. So far, Mr. Polk believes he was never in a relationship with this woman, and she's using the baby as an excuse to rope him in.
When she posted him, I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to go ahead and snatch him up. So I had some little friend requests or whatever. He started liking my pictures and inboxing me. He blowing my little inbox up.
It wasn't me first. She inboxed me first.
No, that's not
That's
true.
how it started.
So basically you met through social media and you all ended up getting together and having sex or starting a relationship?
I was actually in a relationship.
Just a couple of minutes in, and it's pretty apparent that baby mama started all of this as a joke. She admits to the court that all she wanted was sex. But the worst part was that she was already in a relationship before. Can she really be trusted after all the things she's saying?
But were you using protection?
Yes, at the time, yes.
Oh, he lying, Your Honor, he is lying to you.
When we first started messing around, I was using protection.
I know you don't believe here, because let me tell you the story. He don't like condoms. He don't like protection. He don't use protection at all.
So you say you weren't using protection?
No.
The two of them met online, but according to Mr. Polk, they met in July 2017, whereas Ms. Phillips says they met in June 2017. But their relationship already has no base, because all they did when they met was jump straight into having sex.
I left my little man and everything. I left my little boyfriend alone, left him. Everything, because BJ was telling me, oh, if you went with him, we'll be this. I want you to have my baby. I want to be a family with you. All that good stuff.
Fell for that okie doke.
Yeah, so I left my man. I just name tatted on me.
You got a tattoo of his name on you?
It's a property of in his name.
According to Miss Phillips, things began to get pretty serious between the two. But Mr. Polk keeps denying those claims. He said he never loved her and that she attached herself to him like a parasite. There was no way he could rid himself of her, and she's lying when she says he loved her first.
He's not addicted to you, but he enjoys having sex with you.
Yes.
And that's why we're here, and that's why you're upset.
Yep.
Let's really say what it is.
Yep.
Mr.
And he
Polk.
trying to claim he cut me off, but he was catching Ubers all the way to my hotel last night until 4 o'clock this morning, was getting on my nerves last night. We had sex like 3 or 4 times last night.
Then Mr. Polk comes in with the truth about how desperate Miss Phillips was to see him, that she even paid for his Ubers. But Miss Phillips claims that he's lying about that. Judge Lauren straight up asks Miss Phillips that if Mr. Polk is such a bad guy, why did she keep hooking up with him late at night?
I slept with someone else. Just like that. He says me real good.
When did this just come out? No, tell me
That's
when
before
she
got
told you
pregnant.
that.
Before she got pregnant.
Oh, so
not before she got pregnant. I'm talking about like around that time.
So
get what
you
I'm
feel
saying?
like
That's where the doubt come from.
I probably did or whatever, but
It's pretty clear that Miss Phillips just knows how to run her mouth. Everything comes out into the open when Mr. Polk reveals she had slept with someone else and she wasn't telling the court the truth. That's when Judge Lauren asks her a very straightforward question. And when Miss Phillips hesitates to answer, it's pretty clear.
And the possible conception dates are between June 26th and July 6th.
Look at that one.
Then you say you were intimate with the other guy July 4th, right? So July 4th We'll just call him OG for other guy. The other guy is within the possible conception date window.
That's why I told him. That's why it's confessed to him, Your Honor.
Looks like the truth's catching up with Miss Phillips, and she's got nowhere to hide. It feels like she did all of this deliberately to get some sort of revenge on Mr. Polk and drag him into endless drama for no reason. Well, only the results can confirm things now.
Has been determined by this court. Mr. Polk, you are the father.
Thank you. I'm sorry about the doubt.
Now, this is a strange case to cover. It's where a daughter feels like her mother's been hiding the real identity of her biological father. Maxina feels like Mrs. Bailey, her mother, has lied to her about who her father really is.
It's just at some point there was some doubt about who exactly was my father. My mom had introduced me to a gentleman, and I just did not feel in my heart that he was my father. I just didn't feel like he was my father, and I felt as if we had met in a different circumstance, he might have been trying to hit on me or take me out.
Now, Maxina was told stories by people in her family, especially her grandmother, about a man called Max Bomar, who had a relationship with her mother. 9 months after that relationship, Maxina was born, and that's why she thinks her mother hasn't been honest with her.
You believe that Mr. Bomar is possibly her father, and you have that feeling that certainly be true, and you think he's a better candidate.
Yes, ma'am. When Miss Camille told me that she was pregnated, I asked her who she was pregnated by, and she said Mark Bomar.
Once the grandmother tells her version of the story, Mrs. Bailey starts verbally abusing in court, telling she's lying and that she never told about her sleeping with Mark Bomar. Miss Bailey believes the grandmother is turning her daughter against her.
I could, if somebody took me to meet my father and he was in that type of situation, I would stomp my feet and not want him to be my father either. The truth is, that's her father.
Even if she told me, I still wouldn't have believed it because I want concrete, factual evidence.
And I understand.
Even the grandmother met Mark Bomar and straight up asked him if there's a possibility about Maxina being his daughter. And guess what he said? He said that he thinks there's a high chance that it's his daughter, and he has no idea why Mrs. Bailey keeps lying.
But you still need to stay in your place.
They did a DNA.
Okay. Well, you ain't the daddy, that's for damn sure.
You ain't been no mother.
So I've been her mother till her pants.
And both of you
Ever
guys.
since
Roman,
can you go stand in between them?
Lady!
Listen to the judge, and you listen to the judge.
Lady!
Well, the two ladies shouting at each other certainly give poor Maxina a fright. All she wants is to know who her father is and for her mother to be honest with her. Judge Lauren reprimands the two women that they need to stop shouting and yelling. Then, Mark Bomar is escorted into the court.
To know if you're her father, and it's a possibility that you could be. And she said the reason why was because Renee had told her that it was between me and another.
Did you put a few puzzle pieces together and maybe the timing was right where you could potentially be your father?
Yeah, due to the timing.
Well, it's pretty clear that all of this arguing has been too much for Maxina. And with her grandmother and mother constantly fighting, she wants an end to all the doubts. The only way to have that solace is to open up the results in the envelope.
Mr. Bomar, you are not her father.
We just had established a great relationship, and I know he really wanted to be, and I just feel bad. The time that we did spend together, like since we've known each other, you know, he made me feel like a princess, like Cinderella, like.
Watson and Samantha clearly have a lot of issues, and they all pivot back to the doubtful paternity of Samantha's baby boy, Kevin. Watson says that Samantha's not a very loyal woman, and Samantha is sick of him denying being Kevin's biological father.
I would like to marry her, and I really hope this is my son.
And you say the relationship's on the line, meaning if the results don't turn out the way you...
It's out the window, Your Honor. It's over with. Yes.
Miss Mahoney, how is this paternity doubt affecting your child?
Hard. He takes it hard. He looks up to him a lot.
According to Watson, he cannot trust Samantha at all. He was gone from home and came back to discover that the entire neighborhood had evidence of her being the neighborhood hoe. Even though Judge Lauren asks him to mind his language, it's shocking to discover that this is what he thinks of Samantha.
They were showering her with gifts and taking care of her. Now, me as a man personally, I'm not gonna do that for no woman.
Being a man, though, you should have left me.
Miss Mahoney, did you have 2 men living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
You did?
I had no job. I had nothing to fend for myself. They were close family friends, and they just wanted to help me help them.
Then, being the man that he is, Watson goes and confronts the other men his wife had over at their house when he was away. That man has the audacity to say that Kevin is his son. But what makes it worse is how Samantha justifies it. She says this guy was providing for Kevin when Watson was away.
Did he say he was the biological father, or did this man say he was stepping up?
He said that was his kid and that he's in love with her and that's his girl. He always says that. Even to this day, he says that, Your Honor.
It is true, he has said he loves me and he's in love with me. But like I said, I cannot control somebody else's feelings. And as long as I'm doing what I'm supposed to do as a woman.
So, Watson wants clear boundaries between his wife and the men she interacts with. But it's very apparent that she doesn't want that at all. This man confesses his feelings to Samantha, and of course, it upsets Watson. But Samantha does nothing to comfort her husband.
She basically told me everything, how she was
What she
sleeping
did
with...
was lie to you because you and her had sexual intercourse.
No, we did not.
No, that did not happen?
No. The friend told me how she was sleeping with multiple men and how men were crawling through the window.
But it's my house, so why would I have to have somebody crawl through a window?
But then, the big revelation arrives where Samantha claims that the same friend who told false stories about her to Watson is the same friend Watson had sexual relations with. On the other hand, Watson completely denies doing anything like that. It seems like Samantha is cooking up scenarios.
I told him who he was, and he ran from all the things, and finally they found him and had him go up there and take the DNA, 99.9%.
That Mr. Watson was Kevin's biological father?
Yes, ma'am. The state put him on that birth certificate. I even posted it on Facebook.
So even though they got DNA results that said that Watson was 99.9% Kevin's father, Watson refused to believe it. Why? Well, he believes that Samantha knew someone at the lab. She had a way of getting the results faked and wanted him to stay trapped in this relationship.
They couldn't find him to get his DNA, and they already had ours.
You believe she forged these results?
Yes, ma'am.
So when this court contact your home state, because we do our investigation as well.
Yes, ma'am.
So Miss Mahoney, why would it take 7 months to get these results?
I don't know why, and we were together and they showed up.
Then Watson's mother is brought into the picture, and she pretty much thinks that Samantha's fooling her son, and it's really hard for her to believe if Kevin really is her grandson. But since their relationship is on the line now, the only way to solve this ongoing issue is to finally reveal the paternity test results.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Watson, you are the father.
See? I love you.
I'm sorry, baby. I love you. I love you so much.
I have a wife here whose husband was tooting the same old tune, that he didn't father baby Tanea, as he had previously caught Miss Dixon cheating on him, and now the marriage was on the line. This guy certainly knew how to hold a grudge.
He would leave and stay gone sometimes for periods of time. I left for a month. I cheated. He had caught me, actually. Had caught me cheating.
In the act?
In the act, yes.
Yes.
Cheating is cheating, people, whether you hide it or you do it out of spite. Turns out Mr. Hunt caught his wife red-handed while she was off gallivanting in the parking lot, in front of the house she shared with the husband. That woman has guts.
So when I walk to the car, I hear the noises and I knock on the window and she blatantly give me the look like, and so what? You see what I'm doing?
And what was she doing?
Cheating. She was with the guy doing whatever she wanted to do.
So your wife was having sex with another man in a car out front of your house?
Yes.
You were trying to get caught.
Yeah.
The bummer was that the identity of the other guy was still a mystery, which brought up the conception timeline. Unshockingly, we did see that coming. But wait, there's more, as the defendant thinks that it was a high chance that his own brother was the father.
Everything else just went out of the window. I was just happy that I was having a baby girl.
And so at what point does the doubt kick in?
When I'm thinking about the time and I'm realizing that I was gone during the whole month of June. I got back basically July 1st and no. I left the whole month of June. How did you get back in July?
Miss Dixon refused that the guy was his brother, thankfully. Moving on, baby mama and daddy brought forward their witnesses to back up their versions of the story, which was no help at all, as it was just nasty finger-pointing.
I admitted to it being a possibility of the guy I slept with, not sleeping with your brother.
Okay,
that's overboard.
You do believe that it's a possibility that your brother could be Tanea's biological father?
I'm saying, and if not that, then it's a possibility that they slept together. And if that's not the case, then
I need an apology on both ends.
To make some sense of this mess, his brother was brought up on the podium. The way he looked, he just couldn't wait for all this to be over. Well, that makes all of us. Mr. Hunt's brother, Chris, accepted he stayed with his brother's wife, but was pretty confident when he denied any sort of physical intimacy. All is not lost, I guess.
Did your brother, Mr. Hunt, know you were there at the time?
No, ma'am.
You potentially could have gotten into a sexual relationship with Miss Dixon and could be Tanea's biological father. Do you believe you are Tanea's biological father?
No, ma'am.
Do you admit to having a sexual relationship with Miss Dixon?
No, ma'am.
You did not?
No.
Things took an emotional turn as Mr. Hunt poured his heart out regarding the paternity doubt. He had been sad and miserable since the birth of baby Tanea, as the thorn of not being the father kept pricking him in the side, while he missed the golden moments of his baby.
Look at this child. When I'm up at night, I'm staring at this child, not because how beautiful it is, but is this my child? I shouldn't be looking at my child like, is this my child? And she's smiling back at me, but I'm studying like, is that my smile? Instead, oh, that's beautiful.
So you're physically present, but you're not emotionally present.
No.
And your mind is always somewhere else.
Yes.
It was time to get to the bottom of this confusion and open the envelope that held the key to their marriage and the fate of baby Tanea. A lot was at stake. So, let's get on with those results.
You are not the father. You are not the biological.
No. Who the daddy, Janae? No, it's no possibility of nobody else being her dad.
After being betrayed by his wife and brother, the plaintiff was left under the crumbling debt of $43,000 for child support, while the swindling better half was persistent that the elder Vogel at the podium was the father.
Currently owe $43,000 in child support,
Yes,
and you claim to know who his father is. You will return to your home state to get this enormous debt erased.
Yes.
Fasten your seatbelts for some wild revelations, people. Here we go. It turned out that the plaintiff, right from the start, suspected his brother to be the baby daddy of the defendant's son, as he knew that his wife was snooping around with him, to which the ex-missus agreed.
Who do you believe his father is?
My brother, David. She had sex with my brother in the car, in my car in a parking lot in Janesville, Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but there was no sex in the car. It was under a bridge. My son is a bridge baby.
You're admitting that you were intimate with his brother.
Yes, ma'am.
Turns out the marriage that these guys shared was not all hunky-dory. I mean, obviously. But Mr. Vogel suspected that the woman cheated with someone from the family for sure. But who would think that she would get it on with his brother? Now that is devious.
William was born during your marriage?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you would be presumed to be the father?
Yes, Your Honor.
So during the time in which Ms. Vogel is pregnant, do you believe William is your child during that time? Do you know about this sex with your brother?
I had a thought that it was somebody in my family, and I figured it was probably my brother.
If you thought that cheating with your husband's brother was wrong, wait till you hear this. The woman divorced the husband, and after 3 years, married the infamous brother she cheated with. Oh, gosh, what was this woman high on?
I talked to her for a little while. I stayed with her for like 3 or 4 days, and she told me the story of the car, and I guess just to get me mad and get me going, and that she had sex with my brother.
After 3 years, we got married.
So then you married his brother?
Yeah, 3 years after I divorced.
Going through the backdrop of the story, we found out that he was the black sheep of the family. Mother and son both used some colorful adjectives to describe his smooth talking, and by the sound of it, he did seem like a slippery dude. The type one ought to stay far, far away from. If only Mommy had known that sooner.
You'd have to actually get a better understanding of his brother, David. He's got a sly tongue. He's got a snake's tongue. He could pretty much talk anybody into generally anything. So I wouldn't doubt what my mother is saying. I haven't had a secure thought in years. She came to me and she told me there's a possibility that David could be my father.
Turns out the mother wasn't that great either, as she kept changing William's father every decade. Initially, he was led to believe that Mr. David was the father, but since the guy was all talk and no show, Mommy made her final pick with Mr. Daniel. And now the guy was under the enormous debt.
David was my father, and then all of a sudden my mother had kind of come to me when I was 5 and gave me a better understanding that my Uncle Daniel might have been my father. Then she basically told me that he was my father. I had a lot of head trips at that point in time, didn't really understand it.
Mr. Vogel, Daniel here is the one paying child support for you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh man, I sure do feel bad for both Mr. Daniel and Mr. Williams, as they were paying the most in this mess. And as far as we've seen, it's always the child who endures the most. Still, the good part was that the young man still had his spirit high. Kudos to him for that.
So my understanding of it was David was my father because he was the one raising me, but Daniel was my biological father.
You're in a situation where your uncle could be your father, but your father could be your uncle.
Yes, Your Honor.
Either way, your uncle is either way.
Either way, my uncle's my father.
Either way.
Jumping back to the year 1984, we got to see the good times of Miss Vogel when she chose her husband's birthday, the prime time, for cheating with his brother. Yeesh, cold, woman, cold. The timeline head-tripped everyone, as the mommy was hopping between both men.
Did you really have sex with his brother on his birthday, Miss Vogel?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
When was William born?
November 17th. Well, Your Honor, what really made the difference is I was gone and I came home on the 27th. We moved there on the 1st of March.
Coming up next was an emotional moment between the former married couple. Mr. Daniel Vogel ended up forgiving Miss Vogel for all the hurt she'd caused him. Watch how Judge Lake brought the bridge thing come to full circle.
I thank you for that. That's okay. That's all forgiven, Donna. It's forgiven.
That's what I want to see under the bridge. Because I don't think we can undervalue the power of just forgiveness.
William had suffered enough these last 30 years of playing the guessing game of his own biological father between two brothers. It's about time he got some real answers, and the DNA results are gonna give that to him. Time to open that envelope.
Mr. Daniel Vogel, you are his father.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Finally back.
This baby mama here was persistent that the father of baby Viviana was Mr. Blackman, who as usual refused. Yada yada yada, nothing new here. However, the baby daddy suspected two other guys to be the father, as Miss Johnson had intimate relations with them as well. But soon, the number of potential daddies went from 2 to 3.
But you say you believe the defendant, Mr. Blackman, is her biological father.
That's right, Your Honor.
Miss Johnson had a sexual relationship with 2 other men. You fear one of those men are the child's father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Blackman reminisced about the ways and life he spent in Houston following the charming words of his father. Turns out that fatherly wisdom was nothing but insulting to women and catered only to the men. Didn't know some people still resided in the dark ages.
Really don't care about the women in Houston.
Please explain that. You don't care about any of the women in
my dad is Casanova, and he taught us 2 rules. One rule was nobody mess with anybody's girl, and that second rule was nobody has a girl. You understand? So
apparently, baby mama was in a pretty good place before she met Mr. Blackman. Upon falling for the instant connection she shared with him, Miss Johnson dropped the previous boyfriend and moved in with the new one. The twist was that within weeks, these guys ended up in a threesome with the brother.
I was driving the high-end cars. I was going to the nicest restaurants. Me and my son had no need or want for anything. I jumped out of a relationship with my ex to be with him because there was an instant connection. And 2 weeks after I moved in with the defendant, I had sex with his brother. We had a threesome, so there's 3 possibilities, 3 possible fathers of my daughter.
Turns out Mr. Blackman believed that men can be promiscuous, but the women cannot. Seriously? Baby Daddy certainly had no regard for women as he grew up on those baseless ideologies. And we know certain notions don't sit right with Judge Lake. So she reminded him of his place. Yep.
Women not supposed to be like you. If you act like that, you get treated like that.
Men ain't supposed to be like you.
You get treated like that.
It sounds like the pot calling the kettle black. You're not supposed to have any regard for any girl. You meet a girl, you have a connection, you wind up letting your brother have sex with her, you all have a threesome.
Out with the old, in with the new. The baby mama had that threesome with the guy and his brother. However, the catch was that she wasn't aware that the guy suggested this arrangement as a test to prove her worth to him, and he had tested multiple women the same way in the past. What kind of demented tests do people have these days?
Me and my brother, Mr. Gross, have done that before. So it was a test to her, and she failed the test, honestly. I opened the door, and my brother, Mr. Gross, standing there butt naked. I mean, honestly, because I didn't want to look like a punk to my brother, you know, I guess it was peer pressure. I just joined the party because that's what we do.
Well, it turns out Mr. Gross was indeed gross. Apparently his father was a Rolling Stone, and he raised this fella on some questionable ideologies, where women were just like fish to men. Don't believe me? See for yourself.
He just told you we the way we was raised. Like my dad, he call it fishing. You throw the bait in, if the fish catch it, if it's a good fish, you keep it, but if it's not a good fish, you throw it back, you know?
And then what if it gets fried, like the both of you? Miss Johnson, how many times were you intimate with Mr. Gross?
Twice.
Following these shocking events, we got to see Mr. Blackman getting his manly feelings hurt over the fact that Mr. Gross and Miss Johnson slept together 10 times, while he believed it was just the one time in his presence. Uh-oh, he got played.
More than 10 times, you said?
Bro, quit playing.
It was.
Yes, ma'am. Well,
Okay,
I'm
hold
not gonna
on.
lie to you, bro. You know, I made a mistake.
This is new to you. I can tell, Mr. Blackman.
It was your idea.
So you had sex with my brother more than 10 times?
It was twice.
She told me that it happened once. Now she telling me it happened twice.
I told
Now
you
he
it was
telling me it
twice.
happened 10 times. I don't know who to believe.
Next up, we get the Filipino mother up on the stage who clearly disapproved of the ways of her wild child. Mother had warned her daughter to not end up like women who have multiple partners. But we know that advice clearly didn't work.
I'm not raised like that, so I sent her to Philippines so she could learn a lesson, our tradition. She
Blah,
never...
blah, 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 blah.
We have established that you don't have any respect for yourself. You will respect your mother. Did she tell you at that time whether or not she knew who the father was?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Blackman was sure the child wasn't his, based on the fact that his other kids don't look like Viviana at all. But we know that evidence is just circumstantial. Moreover, it was revealed that Mr. Blackman and Miss Johnson were engaged to be married, to which Mr. Gross had a laugh, as he wasn't aware of this development, even when he was asked to be the best man.
Do you all have a relationship?
Yes, Your Honor. We're engaged.
Y'all engaged? We was engaged until I found out she had sex with my brother more than 10 times in this courtroom today, Your Honor.
That's why you asked me to be your best man?
So right now, you just ended your engagement? Your brother is surprised, Mr. Black.
After being thoroughly schooled by the judge, it was time for the results to be announced so that these guys could put all this behind them, and we can put an end to this madness. Here's the results of who was the father of little Viviana.
It has been determined her father is Mr. Blackman.
I told you. I told you.
Miss Coe is done with her daughter's demeanor. Today, Mama not only questioned her grandson's paternity, but also requested to have parental classes for her daughter, because she doesn't trust young Miss Coe's life choices and wants to put the teenager back on track. So she needs to know the word of DNA.
Miss Coe, you say you're here today because your daughter is an out-of-control teenager and she needs help. You have serious doubts that your daughter's boyfriend, Mr. Boyce, is the father of your 7-month-old grandson, and so he needs to know the truth.
Yes, ma'am.
Mama Coe sighed and exposed her daughter's behavior, that she was a freak for authority, and also expressed that she was an out-of-control young girl who needed serious guidance in her life. To explain her testimony, she had a list of bad events to share.
I and my girlfriend had jumped on her because she still did not want to follow house rules. All I asked her to do was not disrespect the house. You made a phone call saying, my mother and her girlfriend just jumped on me. They came to my house, they busted out my car, they destroyed my house.
God, punching cops and damaging your own house? What's your problem, girl? Then the defendant shared that she grew up with her father and only started living with her mom in her teenage years. Upon this, Mama Co disagreed with her.
I'm not here to, you move them boys in our house.
If y'all had a problem, y'all would have put them out. If y'all had a problem, y'all would have enforced the rules and put them out. Did something. I'm a child, like you said. I'm a child. If it was a problem, you should have put them out. If I'm a child,
I need to clarify something on this.
A salty relationship with her mother made her rebel, but having 7 people in your mom's house is still not right. Then the defendant said that the house was just a hangout spot for all the friends, and all of them were dating around one another in the group, and this sparked an objection from Mama Co.
When I find out she's pregnant, I go to the guy. I go to Larry. I say to Larry, look, as Zair's mother, I'm gonna keep it real with you. I've got to be 100. I say you need to get a DNA test.
I'm not gonna lie, but there is a possibility. This baby could be someone else. I didn't just say you're the father, you're the father.
Of course, in a house full of random teenagers, nothing good would come out of it. Then Miss Co explained another mess, that she had a boyfriend, but she slept with a guy named Larry, so there's a possibility in this case. Then the judge asked about Mom's concern over this issue.
I move out to Arizona. She calls me 2 months later after I'm in Arizona. She says, Mom, I need you. She's about to have my grandson. What do we do? And then she still didn't want to do.
What do you feel?
The
It's
only
okay.
rule I had for
let her
her
speak. You don't have to feel ashamed about that.
I was there for you.
Well, if you'd been on the right track, you wouldn't have had to cry today. Now it feels like she wants to make some good from her life. After the mother and daughter had cried the same tears of love and care, Mr. Boyce, the defendant's boyfriend, was brought in to testify for the case.
I feel like from the beginning I knew it was a possibility, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying, he made me grow more, you know what I'm saying, since he been around. Because my mom, she passed away. Once I told her about it, you know what I'm saying, she just, oh, that's my grandbaby. She buying him everything. I'm like,
So your mom...
She passed away.
Okay, it's good to know that not only the mother, but the alleged father of the baby is also hoping for positive results to make their son's life better. That's a good sign. Then, Mr. Boyce shared his thoughts regarding doubts.
We wasn't together. She was in a relationship with another guy. I always got a rubber in my back pocket.
Even today?
Yeah.
Okay. Good, I'm glad to hear it.
I can't really say if I used it or not because I was under the influence.
So you don't remember if the sex you had was safe sex?
Yes.
The paternity of the baby was a big problem. But more than that, the concerns of a mother for her daughter's life and future were also very deep. And when guiding her, it was important to know the father of the baby so she wouldn't make the same mistakes again.
Mr. Boyce, you are not the father.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
I'm still.
First love is enough to turn your world upside down. But you can't tolerate it if he denies your child. Miss Short was an innocent girl who fell into the trap of her first love's baby and now wanted to prove to him his paternity so she could lessen her life-bearing burdens.
Mr. Johnson, you are in court with your mother and say you might have been the plaintiff's first love, but you weren't the only one. You refused to do anything for her son until the DNA results prove you are his biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The plaintiff started the testimony by saying that her son deserved to have a father figure in his life. She didn't want to raise him alone and needed help because she was still going through her school. Next, she broke down in tears, and Grandma shared some words.
She just need to know, is he the father? So he can step up and do the right thing, hopefully. You know, we can't make him. We need to know, because I did stop him from coming over because I didn't want no Phillips to get involved, like them to get attached if he wasn't the father, because she did tell them it's a possibility.
Poor girl. Without uttering a bad word, she only asked for help from the father. Next, Miss Short said that the defendant suddenly broke up with her, and in heartbreak, she once slept with another guy, and when pregnant, she told both of them of the possibility. Then, Mr. Johnson shared his thoughts on the pregnancy.
I found out she was pregnant 6 months.
And were you informed that you were the biological father?
Yes, ma'am. She told my mom and dad she was pregnant and I could be the father. So at the time, I'm thinking that the baby's mine. At the end of the day, when I come home from being away, I got her friends coming to me, talking to me about the other dude.
At least he didn't deny it at first. I mean, that's a good part he played. Then the plaintiff shared that even after the possibility of confession, his mother, Miss Mabry, offered to help them. Upon this, Ms. Short's mama told their struggles for raising the baby alone, with further allegations from the defendant.
It was a point in time where her mama would get into our arguments and tell me not to come back to the house. None of that. If I come over there, she's gonna call the police. That's why I stayed
Never
distant.
said that to you about calling the police.
But it was words being said about, he has another family member that wasn't even around when this happened, but he knows about everything.
How are you even asking for help when you threaten the father to visit the baby? Their testimony seems faulty to me, but it's too soon to say something. Then Miss Mabry testified on the situation, and she counter-accused them.
When we try to get the baby, she have to come and sit with us. We can't get the baby, and she talking about flexing and front and all this. We was trying to be involved with this baby, even though we know it was a possibility that it's not my son baby.
And I could back her up on that. It was times that I tried to come see the baby, but her mother wouldn't let me come to the house.
So the plaintiff's side also has some faults, which they don't want to acknowledge. But why are they pushing him away from the baby so badly? Then the judge asked the plaintiff about her surety about the father, and she said that her assumption was based on the dates. Next, Judge asked Mr. Johnson about the birth certificate.
He wasn't gonna sign nothing until we found out the truth.
When I had him to see, did he look like Mr. Johnson? I don't want to go through this.
I just want to know the truth, or if he is mine, I will be there for him. And I just don't want to be in the mix of this is that, that's that. I don't want to be in the mix. I just want to know the truth.
Even if he was present at birth, still, both of them showed irresponsible behavior for the baby. They admitted their mistakes, but had nothing more to say on this matter. And seeing this, the judge stepped up and shared some much-needed guidance to these young people.
But I have done my best to be patient. I have been frustrated. I have been trying to be compassionate because you all are young people, and now you've gotten yourself into this whole big drama with adult situations. You can't even string 2 good sentences together in this courtroom.
It was tough to see a young girl worrying more about her baby than her future. The mistakes of the youth can end you up in the dark. But now, all this discussion was useless, and only results were important so that both parents can take responsibility and can protect themselves in the future.
Mr. Johnson, you are the father.
Like I said, I'll be there for him.
Good.
Miss Taylor was not ready to step back and drag the defendant to the court to prove that he fathered her 3-month-old daughter. To fully use her anger, she also sued him for $2,256 for childcare expenses that she had to bear alone. Now, to win her right, a DNA test is required.
Ms. Taylor, you say Mr. Brown is an older man who swept you off your feet and got you pregnant.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, you say Ms. Taylor is obsessed with children and has baby fever.
Yes.
And you believe she may have already been pregnant by another man the first night you had sex with her.
Yes, Your Honor.
The plaintiff made a hard attack on Mr. Brown by calling him a miser, as he didn't do anything good and bought just 2 sets of cheap diapers for the baby that only gave her daughter a rash. So the defendant then defended himself against this.
Did you use protection?
Nah, all the time.
Well then, there's a possibility it could be your baby.
Yeah.
Miss Taylor, have you tried at all to get Mr. Brown involved? Have you called him? Have you said, do you want to come by and see the baby?
Yes, Your Honor. Every time I call him, he say, that ain't my baby. You need to go find your baby daddy and stop calling me.
First, buying cheap diapers is shameful. Second, they have different statements about using protection. Don't know where this would lead. Next, the plaintiff said that she met Mr. Brown on her 18th birthday at a club, and that's where the trouble started.
He came up to you in the club?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're how old?
18.
And he was how old?
32.
What?
32, Your Honor.
How old are you, sir?
32.
I always say beware the old man in the club.
Hey.
Oh, it's gonna be tough. Not one statement of theirs matches with the other. Then the judge asked the plaintiff to explain more about their relationship, and she said that it was her preference to have an older man, but she was disappointed. Upon this, Mr. Brown attacked her with strong allegations.
First time we used a condom. Second time we
If I was already pregnant, how come my baby 3 months?
I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out. The third time the condom broke.
The condom broke.
Yes.
In fact, you could potentially be
and then she kept
Melanie's
saying,
father.
Keep going, keep going. I was like, no, no. And I told her I'd be back, and I left.
Protection or not, these two are making us swing badly with their lies. Then the judge asked Miss Taylor about the pregnancy, and she said that the defendant was present at the hospital and left for a smoke, but never came back. and showed the picture proof.
I have a picture of him
Let me
holding the
see
baby.
this evidence.
Then he said he was going to smoke a cigarette and he never came back, Your Honor.
Your nerves were shot.
Because I didn't feel a bond.
See, this is a picture here of you, and this is holding
Melanie.
As soon as she put
It
the baby
looks
in my-
like you're looking at her in a loving way.
I was looking like I gotta go.
Is he negating everything in this case? I'm surprised how he never claimed that he didn't know her. Next, the judge only asked the plaintiff whether she loved this man, and Mr. Brown asserted this fact, but she denied it and explained herself.
If I give him what he wants, he'll give me what I want. And I want him to take care of my baby.
And this is exactly why young girls have no business having babies. He never wanted to be your boyfriend. 9 times out of 10, he gonna come get the sex, tell you he going out to smoke, then never come back.
It's clear that she is young, but girl, you don't have to be so dumb to trade his financial help like this. Get some sense, he's using you. Then the defendant added more doubts that she was with multiple guys. And to support this, Mr. Brown's brother gave his testimony.
A couple of days after we had left the club, I'm walking out my apartment complex to go get something to eat. And as I'm walking out, I see Mercedes walking in. And and she walking in with a couple of my homeboys from the same apartment complex.
So do you think that that's what they were doing?
I'm pretty sure there's a great possibility that that's what they were doing.
That's not true, Your Honor.
The constant denial of Mr. Brown and immature acts of the plaintiff to survive for her baby were useless. As in this mess, the only life that will bear the consequences will be her daughter. And to save that little girl's future, the judge read the results.
Mr. Brown, you are the father.
I told you. Can I have that paper, Your Honor?
Well, now I can hold her again.
Miss Ramelis was desperate to find her baby's father today, but she was confused between 2 men who could potentially be the real daddy. Not just this, but her doubts are due to her adventures because she cheated on Mr. Seymour. So a DNA test is needed in this hunt.
Ms. Ramelis, you are here today to test 2 men to determine the paternity of your son. You say that you were dating Mr. Seymour for the past 4 years, but then you cheated with another man. Mr. Seymour, you are one of the 2 possible fathers being tested for paternity today.
Yes, Your Honor.
The plaintiff laid out the relationship with Mr. Seymour, that she was very happy with him, and he was a proper good man she needed in her life. But soon, some rumors reached her ears that the defendant was messing around in a strip club.
And he's telling me that, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, when I'm being the one that I'm supposed to. I'm not doing you wrong or anything. I am there for you when you need me, but he was cheating, doing a whole bunch of things. Then he had got another job.
Now you didn't witness this, you were told this.
He was told I did not witness.
So when you took a break, you should have stuck to it, girl. Then the plaintiff revealed that after their improper break in a relationship, she started seeing a mutual friend, Mr. Covington, and slept with him. Next, it was the defendant's turn to speak.
At some point,
you said it was
you
a promise
found
ring.
out
I didn't
you
know
were
what
pregnant.
it was.
Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm ashamed to say it, but I'm going to say it. It was like I had to say, okay, I had sex with DJ and I had sex with Jeremy. Jeremy might be the father. I'm 100% for sure Jeremy's the father, but then again, I had sex with DJ.
So she manipulated both guys to get the best one out for the baby. You got a good game going on, girl. The whole back and forth involvement of these guys was confusing, so the judge asked more questions from Mr. Covington to understand the situation better.
She came up and was like, I'm pregnant. I said, well, don't you have a boyfriend? That's who you need to be talking to and calling about this situation. Even though, I'm not gonna lie, we had sex that time we did. So I kind of feel like I do have the possibility of being in the father, but
I don't feel like I'm
at the same time, this his old lady. I have someone. I have a girlfriend.
One guy gives his name to the baby, and the other is alleged to be the father. What is going on? Then, after taking out all their frustrations, both men in the court shared their thoughts on stepping up for the baby.
I can't do that if he ain't gonna be a father and I'm gonna be the father. At the end of the day, it's only gonna be one father. And I wanna know who the father is.
You've invested a lot of time in this child.
Yes, ma'am.
What have you done?
Clothes, shoes, Pampers, spend time with him 2-3 weeks at a time since he been born.
And you spend time with the baby?
Yeah, he come over my house, she'll let me, that's one thing I can say, she let me get the child.
The spiteful revenge of the plaintiff was a fun ride for her. But now look at her, standing confused about the real father of her baby. Moreover, this irresponsible behavior only created problems for her son. And now, only DNA could solve this issue.
Mr. Seymour, you are not the father. Mr. Covington, you are not the father.
Seriously?
experiences, baby.